Good evening, everybody, and what a very, very sad day it is for us here in the United Kingdom with the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who is or was the country's longest-serving monarch and the world's oldest-serving monarch. This is a new experience for all three of us, for Tracy and Mickey, because none of us have known anything else except the Queen on the throne, because we're all too young to have known her father on the throne, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah, certainly are, yeah.
It's a very sad day, I think. This, indeed. Have you any thoughts, Tracy? Obviously, my condolences go out to, because as well as being the Queen, she is a mother and a grandmother, so my condolences go out to her family. Her family and her relatives, because they've lost a mother and a grandmother, as well as the country losing a queen. We must never lose sight of that she had a family. She wasn't just ours, she was a family person.
She was also a great grandmother as well.
Yes, she was. Yes,
What I saw on TV of her, she seemed very doting. She seemed like it, even on the balcony, she seemed to be like a nan.
Yeah.
She really, she'd be talking to the little ones and, showing them things and stuff. And that was, she always came across as being very warm. And my condolences as well goes out to the family and anybody who's feeling this as a big loss.
Vicky, any thoughts?
Pretty much the same, really. Yeah.
Good evening, Alex.
Good evening, Alex. Good evening.
A great grandmother, and well, a beautiful person, really.
Yes, yeah. It's the end. I'm sorry.
And she did so much for this country that people don't seem to realise. I mean, I've seen today a lot of horrible posts in
Twitter has been a toxic cesspit. But then that's nothing unusual for Twitter.
I didn't go on Twitter. Hello, Alex. I didn't go on Twitter because I can't be arsed with all the, but there was enough on Facebook going around. But yeah.
Twitter is a toxic cesspit at the best of times, but it's been particularly toxic today.
You have to remember that she was somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother.
Indeed.
But I mean, now to be honest, I said to Donna, my wife, when Philip died, I didn't think she'd last a year out. I said that then.
We had this discussion, me and my partner had this discussion earlier in the year, and we said we didn't think she'd see the year out. And it's sad, because you want people to live forever, don't you? You expect it on so many levels, but at the same time, you want people to live forever. It is.
Yeah. And to see her sitting in that chapel on her own.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's an image that haunted me.
Heartbreaking.
And do you know what? I can't find what the right word is about that, but let's say I totally respected that she did that, because she was making a point that she grieves alone, like many of us had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she could.
I mean, I could go into a rant.
Family.
I could go into a rant here. But
I could go into the same rant, Mickey, but I'm not going to either. We'll save that for another day. And I know exactly what rant you're going to go into, because I'm going to go into the same one about other people having parties.
Exactly.
We'll go into that. Go into that for another day.
It's not the night for me to be ranting.
No, you can have a good rant tomorrow about that, and yes. I can have a good rant.
We'll have a rant tomorrow about that, Mickey.
Can I just say good evening to everybody who's watching us? I can see that we've got a few people watching us, and hello to you all.
Yeah, indeed. Hello. We're just paying our condolences to Her Majesty the Queen, and of course her family, because you mustn't forget, although she was our head of state, she was also a mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. Her greatest achievement, I think, was as the CEO of Great Britain PLC. She did more for tourism for the United Kingdom than anything else, I think. And I know Alex is watching us there. I know in America, the royal family is especially loved. I don't know why. I can't understand why, because they're not your royal family, but that they're especially loved. They're our royal family.
I was talking to a friend of mine in Canada before I decided to come on, and they're the same. Certainly, the English speaking part are they're gutted basically.
The Queen is their head of
but
state.
What I want to say about her being a mother, she not only was she a mother to her family, she was a mother to the Commonwealth.
Yes, yeah. The head of state of Australia, the head of state of Canada, the head of state of many countries. I think she was the head. I think she was the head of state of New Zealand. Do you know, I did a lot of research before we came on air tonight, and that's one thing I didn't research: how many heads of state she was, and I should have done. And like I said, I've got a bit of a running order tonight, which I've discussed with everybody before we came on about the things that I want to go through. But please, by all means, if anybody's got anything, Alex, you've got any comments to make, and we do appreciate your. We do appreciate your respects. If anybody got any comments to make, please, bring them in. I will tell you this, that we've this is the end of an era, and we've now got King Charles III. God save the King. It's going to be so strange for me to be singing the royal anthem and getting it right, because throughout my life I've always sung the female version, and suddenly I'm going to have to change to the male version, And
do you know that we will never be, in our lifetime, unless something goes horrifically wrong, we will never sing "God Save the Queen" again?
No, we won't. We won't see "God Save the Queen" again. You're absolutely right. We've lost.
Good evening, Miss Mouse.
Yes, good evening, Miss Mouse. You asked Miss Mouse, I'll say, I'm feeling a little emotional. I'd be a liar if I didn't say. I'm not feeling a little emotional. There's every chance that I could end up welling up with tears. So we've lost what has been our national identity tonight, and we've just come to the end of the second Elizabethan era, and we've now got King Charles III. Although he may not be, when he's invested as the Queen, he may not be King Charles. He can actually choose a different name if he so chooses, as the Pope does when the Pope is invested as the Pope.
It's like Edward VIII. He was originally David, but he chose Edward when he succeeded to the throne, even though he didn't stay on the throne for very long.
It gets complicated, doesn't it? Yeah, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
The thing is, I had to do a bit of research on this because I had no idea. But the era of King Charles, right, will be called the Carolingian era.
Is that because it's the Latin?
Yes.
Oh.
But a reign under King Charles will be the Carolingian era.
Unless, of course, he changes his name to something.
Unless, of course, he changes his name to something else, like Edward, then it will be the Edwardian era. Because we've had the Victorian era, we've had the Edwardian era, we've had two Elizabethan eras. But I never knew that it was the Carolingian area. We will discuss the rules in a little while, Miss Mass, because it gets even more complicated than you think. But we've all paid our condolences. I'm sure everybody's got the same condolences for the Queen. But I was thinking about this today. What can I say tonight? And I thought, what can we describe? I mean, she's been on the throne for 8 decades. This is her 8th decade, the longest-serving monarch this country has ever known, and the world's oldest monarch. And what defined her reign? Now, with the first Queen Elizabeth, her reign was defined by the fact that was the start of the British Empire. With Queen Victoria, her reign was defined by exploration. I think the second Elizabethan era be defined as a reign of discovery, of technology, of advancement, because when she came to the throne, colour televisions weren't around. Very few colour televisions were around. We didn't have rockets. We'd never been to the moon. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have internet. We didn't have the computer. She's seen such a change in her 70 years, far more than any other monarch has ever seen during their reign. And I think that's what will define the second Elizabethan era, an era of technological discovery. And
can I while you've taken a pause for breath there, can I just say that the Russian leader Vladimir Putin has actually sent his condolences to King Charles following the Queen's death, and he said it's a heavy and irreparable loss, which I think just about covers it, really. It is a heavy and irreparable loss.
It is an irreparable loss.
But I mean, I was quite surprised that he would actually send a message due to the circumstances at the moment. But yeah, it's very good of him.
That is very surprising. I must admit that is very surprising. And so yeah, I was thinking about all the things that she's done in her reign. Did you know that she has had 15 prime ministers?
Yeah, and the first one was Churchill.
Sorry?
Was the first one Churchill?
The first one was Churchill.
Yeah.
And the 15th.
Now I remember Churchill's funeral.
Yes, I don't, but I don't. That was in 1964, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they.
Here's an interesting fact: the 15th Prime Minister, Liz Truss, was not even born when the Queen ascended to the throne.
No.
But just going to show you, I mean, England won the World Cup during her reign. You know, we're never going to see that like again. She touched so many lives around the world, both being the Queen of England and the Queen of the Commonwealth. And yeah, it's going to be a great loss. And I'll tell you the one thing that I will always remember the Queen for, right? And I don't know whether I would have this within me. She is an extremely magnanimous person. A few years back, and I'm going to get a bit political here for a moment. A few years back, she went to Northern Ireland. And during this visit in Northern Ireland, she met and greeted Martin McGuinness. Martin McGuinness, many years ago, was the head of the Provisional IRA. The Provisional IRA killed her favourite uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, with a bomb on his boat. Yet she stood there, and she said at the time, he was her favourite uncle. She stood there and she greeted Martin McGuinness like that had never happened. And that takes a very special kind of magnanimity. I don't know if I would have that in me. I don't know if I could actually greet the person that would be responsible for the death of one of my favourite people. I don't know whether I could do that. But then that's what she did. Her entire life was a life of service. And she was a queen of the people because prior to her father dying, during the Second World War, she actually got down and dirty with the British public. She didn't hide away. She was one of the first royals to actually get in there and be with the British public. She was an ambulance driver during the Second World War. And a little story came out tonight. I was listening to somebody on the radio on the way home, and he said, I've actually worked with the Queen when she was an ambulance driver, and he said, she could swear like a trooper. He said, she knew all the swear words. So,
that doesn't surprise me.
She was the first of the royals that would do that, because previously royals had never done that, because at the time she was Princess Elizabeth. But to actually go out and drive an ambulance was a fantastic feat, you know. So it's she was a queen of the people. So
yeah, I think that's definitely a thing that defines her as being queen of the people. Because kind of prior to that, and even her father and her mother, they were the very typical stoic. Is it? You know, a few steps back from the commoners. You know, they would go and look at bomb sites and slums and have a little bit of a wave, and then it would go back. They'd go back to their palaces and things. And I thought, of course, she was born into quite a lot of privilege. So you know, but when it came to it in the war, she got down and she worked. She grafted with the rest of us, and she made a lot of people felt that she was more with us than without us, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So and that has carried on, trickled down through her family, through the generations. You know, instead of being okay, I think I can't remember if she had a nanny. I'm pretty sure she had a nanny for her children. But then when it came to Charles and Diana, they didn't have a nanny because they wanted to be more hands-on. And now you could come even further. You know, like rather than I know they still have nannies and babysitters and things like that, but actually it used to be that the royals would have a baby and then the baby would be brought up by the nannies. Whereas over time, the royals have become more and more hands-on, and where now you're down to William and Kate, who are actually taking their own children to school and things like that. That we would never have dreamed of that, you know, sort of 70 years ago. So I think she's been quite a progressive monarch, even in her later years.
Have you got any memories? I mean, I've never met her. I've never met the Queen. I've seen the Queen twice up close, but I've never actually met her. What about you, Tracy?
No, I've never met her, but I saw her once in her car. I can't remember. You know, the big car with the big window and everything. Yeah. She passed down the road. She'd been somewhere and was doing all the waving. So that was very brief. And then I was standing in the right place to be able to see her get onto her boat for the is it the Diamond Jubilee?
Possibly, yeah.
Where they did the flotilla, 2012, I think it was. Yeah, 2012. Anyway, so you know that she got on the boat with at Chelsea Harbour and floated up to where all the flotilla was going to be. So I was standing just, you know, still far enough away. And there was this little figure in bright white, and she got on the boat and floated up the Thames. So I managed to see that, and that's, as far as I recall, that's about as close as I've got to any member of the royal family. But it was still lovely to see.
What about you, Mickey?
Queen's Jubilee, 1977. Didn't actually meet her personally, but I was in the army then, and we actually did a Jubilee parade for her in Germany, and she actually drove up and down the ranks and actually just, well, she was standing in the back of a Range Rover, and that's about as close as I've ever got to her. I've saluted her, obviously, as you do, but yeah, I've never actually met her, or any of the other royal family. That's as close as I've got. Was 1977 Silver Jubilee parade in Sennelager in Germany.
When you serve in the United Kingdom forces, you're actually serving for Queen and country. Well, that'll be King and country now, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
King and country now. Right, Miss Mass and the lack of choices. I'll come back to you in a moment. Miss Mass, you say it's very complicated with all the rules. I've done some research on the rules of ascension, on what was happening immediately. What happened the minute the Queen died? The minute the Queen died, Prince Charles then became King Charles III. He was the Prince of Wales, but he's no longer the Prince of Wales. He's now the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. He's also the King of other Commonwealth realms, which Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and there's loads others that I could mention. He's also inherited another title, which is Defender of the Faith and Supreme Governor of the Church of England. That Defender of the Faith was actually bestowed upon Henry VIII by the Pope. The Pope. It was in the Latin, it's Fide Defensa in 1521.
Yeah, well, Fid Def. If you have a look at a coin, it's got Fid Def on it.
Sorry?
Which is, if you have a look at any of our coins, it's got Fid Def on it, and that does stand for Defender of the Faith. It's a shortened version of the Latin.
Yeah, when Henry VIII left the Catholic Church because they refused to sanction his divorce, and he created the Church of England, he kept the title of Defender of the Faith. Although Queen Mary I repealed that and got rid of it, but it was reinstated by Elizabeth I, who was also proclaimed Supreme Governor of the Church of England. Right? It gets complicated because Charles is somebody who's passionate about religion, and he caused controversy back in 1994 when he said, "If I ever become king, I want to be called Defender of the Faith, or the Defender of Faith, rather than Defender of the Faith." By dropping that word came out. Right. I'm reading from notes. I'm really sorry. I'm reading from notes, right?
Miss Mouse says, does King Charles become the head of the church?
No.
That's
with
the Archbishop of Canterbury.
But doesn't she become the head of Church of England?
No, that's the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh,
Okay.
Archbishop of Canterbury.
Because it's just that King Henry
she's-
VIII, he was head of Church of England. He made himself head of
Yeah,
Church of
supreme
England.
head of the Church of England. But like I say, that
Yeah.
was repealed.
But she's a figurehead.
He's a figurehead.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the head of the armed forces. Or King Charles is now the head of the armed forces.
Yes. She was actually Colonel and Chief of my regiment.
Yeah.
Which is an honour. That is, to have her as Colonel and Chief of your regiment.
Like I said, Charles was the Prince of Wales. He's now the Duke of Lancaster, as well as being king. He's the Duke of Lancaster, which is a hereditary estate, which automatically ascends with each monarch. Each monarch gets the Duke of Lancaster estate. Right?
Will that be because of Henry VII? Because he was Lancaster, wasn't he?
Henry V.
Oh, okay.
Henry V.
No, because I'm just thinking of the.
Miss Mouse says, can they change things when they see fit?
No, they can't. No. These things that I'm talking about, I mean, this was changed in 1413. Henry V in 1413. The Reformation,
which was when the monarch was absolute.
Yeah, absolute.
Now we have a parliamentary
the Reformation
system.
of the Catholic Church, the Reformation of the Church of England was 1521. When Charles just said, "Well, okay, if the Catholics want any divorce, then we'll get rid of the Catholics and we'll form our own church." But he was an absolute monarch. It's when monarchs had power. And the last monarch to have any power was Queen Victoria. So these things aren't changes when they liked. Camilla will not be Queen Camilla. She will be known as the Queen Consort.
Queen Consort.
The Queen Consort. Although she will now.
But she asked for that, didn't she?
That, yeah.
Because she didn't want. She did ask for it. She didn't want to be known as the Queen. I think there'd have been a lot of controversy if she'd been named Queen.
Anne Boleyn was Queen Consort as well.
Yeah.
She will be.
One of them.
Her style will be Her Majesty, not Your Royal Highness.
Yes.
She'll be Your Majesty, not Your Royal Highness.
Oh, that's interesting.
William is now the Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge. Okay? As heir to the throne, he's the Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge, and he inherited the title of the Duke of Cornwall. George V combined the Cornwall title with his existing dukedom in 1901, when he became the Duke of Cornwall and York, I think. I'll have to check that one out. When his father became Edward VII, as Prince of Wales, which he created, I'll have to check that one out because I'm only going by memory. William is not yet Prince of Wales. The title of Prince of Wales isn't automatic. The male heir to the throne is traditionally called the Prince of Wales. Now, I remember Prince Charles being invested as the Prince of Wales in Carnarvon Castle in 1966.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do, Mickey, as well.
Yeah.
That was a big...
Was it 66, 67?
Something like that. It was a major television event, wasn't it? Major television event.
I think I was 11, so I think it was probably 67.
67. It's not automatic. He doesn't actually automatically become the Prince of Wales because his father, King Charles, has to create the title again. It's created by the monarch for the male heir each time down, and it's not automatic. William also becomes the Duke of Rothesay, so he inherits a lot of Scottish titles, being the male heir now. And I'll also tell you something else, which is very interesting. From today onwards, William will not be allowed to travel with his oldest son together.
Yeah.
Oh.
William and Prince George would not be allowed to travel together. Prince Charles and William were never allowed to travel together. I don't know if you know that or not, but William and
not in the same vehicle.
Not in the same vehicle, because otherwise we don't want to lose two heirs to the throne at the same time. I think he's also called Lord of the Isles. Now we come to Kate. Kate is now the Duchess of Cornwall and Cambridge. And until the Queen's death, Camilla was the Duchess of Cornwall, but of course she loses that title now because she's the Queen Consort. So it really gets complicated, right? When William becomes the Prince of Wales, Kate will obviously become the Princess of Wales, last used by Diana, William's mother.
Mhm.
Now, Camilla could have used that title from the time she married Charles. She chose not to.
She knew about public feeling.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Although on a personal
And
note,
I think she absolutely did the right thing because it was still, even though time had passed, people were still very much loving Diana's memory. And
they still do now. If you hear, read comments.
I know.
But some of the comments that I've been reading on Facebook, they're blaming a conspiracy theory over her death.
No, I know. I've seen all that, especially as the anniversary's just gone. But I think Camilla did the right thing there, and it was all done with the blessing of the Queen and things like this. And so it's good that now that she is Queen Consort, she hasn't taken the role of Queen, because I think she could have been given Queen, but it was discussed with Queen Elizabeth as to what she will be. This is more recently now. Because I don't think a lot of people were thinking that Camilla wanted to marry Charles, going to be Queen, but she didn't. They were in love for a long time. It's just she was married to someone else, so he had to marry Diana to actually produce the offspring. Blah blah blah. So basically, I think she did the right thing. I think they played that as well as they.
Can I just get to the end of this research I've done, and then we'll talk about it, right? We'll come back to the questions. I can see your question there, Miss Mouse. I can see your question. We will come back to them. I'm just going to finish this last bit, which will be of interest, not so much to the British, because we really don't, well, in my opinion, we really don't care, but for the Americans. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which as we know is Camilla and Harry.
Harry and Meghan.
Their son, Archie Mountbatten Windsor, is now technically a prince due to the rules set out by King George V in 1917. However, that has to be confirmed by Charles when he becomes king, because he can do something called a letter of statement, which stops that from actually happening. Archie's younger sister is now technically a princess. Charles would have to issue a letters patent to remove this, and I think that would be seen as nastiness by everybody. So they are effectively a prince and princess. So that's how the line of succession goes. It's absolutely crazy how the lines of succession go. So I did see your question, Miss Mouse. There, I did see your question. Do you think Kate will use princess? Well, she can't. Not right now. She cannot use. Only her husband, Prince William, is a prince. Just because she married him, she does not automatically become a princess until she's made a princess. Like, if he becomes the Prince of Wales, she will automatically become the Princess of Wales. But right now, she cannot use the title princess because she isn't. It's crazy. I know it's crazy. But that's the things that have immediately changed today with the death of the Queen and how it all changes in the line of succession. So it means that the Harry and Meghan, their children are now princes that are actually a royal prince and a royal princess, unless King Charles decides to strip them of those titles, which he can do.
And it also they could request the titles be stripped, and then King Charles does it.
Yeah.
Because I've got a feeling it was. I can't remember who it is, but it was one of the Queen's children said they didn't want. It might have been Edward actually. They didn't want their children having any titles whatsoever, and so
no, they haven't.
They don't have
the Duke of Essex, Edward, his children haven't got any titles.
No, I can't remember who it was.
It
I
was
just
Edward.
remember that there was. It will say.
It was Edward. So.
And you know what? Edward is a very quiet royal, but him and his wife Sophie do so much work that goes unappreciated by people. People don't know about. but he just gets quietly on with it in the background, and I think that's absolutely
He
fantastic.
travels by public transport in London.
Yes.
Which is quite amazing.
Yeah,
he travels by public transport. He does have an armed detective with him, but he does travel by public transport because I think he's something like 16th in the line to the throne. I mean, it is possible, technically possible, he could become king. But there we go. So does that answer your question? Miss Mass? That's about whether Kate will become a princess. She can't do it now, but she will become. It is very complicated, but you've got to remember that we've been at this. We've been at the royal family thing since I can't even remember. King Aelred.
King Ethelred.
No, Ethelred the Unready. Ethelred the Unready was the son. Was Edward the Confessor's father. Edward the Confessor was the father of King Harold. King Harold. So Aelred, I think, was the father of Ethelred the Unready, and he was the first United Kingdom monarch, which would be about 925, 930. I'd have to look that up because prior to that, you had
certainly in the dark.
Yeah, prior to that, you had the kingdoms of Wessex, of Cumbria, and everything else. But I forget which king it was brought all the three kings together. I think it was Aelred that brought all the three kingdoms. That brought the three kingdoms together to make it one kingdom, and then later the Scottish came in for the other one. But we've been a monarchy here since I'm going to Google it. How long have we been a monarchy? I'm going by memory. I'm sorry. I need to Google it. Tracy, up to you.
Miss Mouse, for your comment. Yeah, Miss Mouse says thank you so much for all the information. The world will grieve Her Majesty's passing. Thank you. Yeah, they will. They will. She's just been part of everyone's life for such a long time. I don't think any of us three are actually royalists, but we can still see that the Queen is an amazing person, and the royal family is a massive asset to Britain, and it's got so much history, so much. When I say rich history, I don't mean monetary. I just mean it runs through our culture, and all the pomp and circumstance and the little traditions that you have to do certain things. It's almost folklore, and they still do these bits and pieces, which I love. I really enjoy it. Did you find what you were looking for?
Sorry, I was nearly right. I've googled it. I was going from memory. I was one king out, right? It wasn't. I said I actually mispronounced it. It was Aethelwulf that I was referring to, but it was actually his father, King Egbert. King Egbert in 827 was the first monarch to establish a stable rule over all of Anglo-Saxon England. Aethelwulf was his son, who I thought was the one, and then of course his son was Alfred the Great. And then Alfred the Great begat Edward the Confessor, and then Alfred. Well, it was quite amazing, and that was so Egbert.
Exactly, Miss Mouse. That's exactly what we all think.
Yeah,
she was an extraordinary woman, and she put herself out there. She was, she didn't just hide behind her palatial walls and sign things and let things get on with it. And she.
Just think, 2 days ago, she was welcoming, I don't know what number, 15th Prime Minister?
15th Prime Minister, yeah.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue...
She promised that she would serve the country from the moment that she became Queen. She made a promise that she would serve the country, and she said that I am your servant and everything. And right up to the last, that's what she did. Yes, okay, she had to take some lighter duties and everything, but she still, and not do anything sort of so strenuous and things. But she was still there behind the scenes. They were saying on the news tonight that the red box of daily affairs from the Parliament would turn up. She would be signing things. She'd be at her desk. She knew what was going on. She kept up with current affairs. So yeah, she was very much involved with British culture and society.
I think her body was failing her, but never her mind. Her mind was never failing. She was sharp as a tack. Yeah. Sharp as a tack.
great minds think alike there. She was.
I actually saw a little clip of her cutting a cake with the Queen's crest on it. And she came out with a little quip because the crest was facing the camera. And she turned around to a lady in waiting who was beside her and said, "It's always all about them, isn't it?" So I found, she had a wicked sense of humour that very few people ever actually saw.
Well, I don't know. We saw it with Paddington, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was
when she did it. When she did the one for the opening of the 2012 games, I think it was, where she. I know she didn't, but she put herself in the position with James Bond where they paraglided into the stadium. Now she could easily have gone, well, that's going to make me look stupid, but so that gave us a glimpse into that. And then when we had the Paddington with when she brought that sandwich out of her bag,
marmalade sandwich out of her handbag,
everyone laughed and cried and just wanted to hug her. It's her famous handbag.
I didn't for 1 minute think she actually jumped out of that helicopter.
You think?
I don't think she did, but I love that. I remember watching that I remember watching that in 2012 and thinking, my God, the Queen has actually done that. Talk about lending legitimacy to James Bond.
I thought it was brilliant. I think it was just that when he walks in and she's there writing and you can't, it's just the back of her and you're going all the way, it's going to be a lookalike, and she turns around and I think that I cheered along with the entire audience that night, just like, where is the Queen? Fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. Indeed, it was like a choice. It was fantastic. By the way, tonight I'm drinking whiskey. The reason I'm drinking whiskey is I'm raising a glass, Your Majesty. Rest in peace. God save the Queen. God save the King. But the reason I'm drinking whiskey tonight is that was her favourite drink. So I'm drinking Scottish whiskey, in fact. I happen to know her favourite one was Highland Park, which is what I'm drinking as well. So
a nice tribute.
Have you never seen that before, Alex?
Miss Mal says, "Can you imagine if she wasn't the Queen? I think she would have still made changes." Cheers. I think so too. I think that had she wasn't actually directly in line to the throne. It was the abdication of Edward VIII, if I remember rightly, that moved things along, and her grandfather. Her father then became king. And she should have just been doing the stuff that minor royals do.
Well,
and no, she should have been doing. She was the niece of the king to be, and so she wasn't being brought up as at first. She wasn't being brought up as in line to the throne. So what she should have been doing should be similar stuff as Edward and Sophie and the children of the other royals and things. And I do think that she would have been a mover and shaker. Things would have been happening had she even not become queen. So
it's funny, if I recall correctly, and I could Google this, so I might be wrong. If I recall correctly, she'd not long married her husband, Prince Philip, and she'd gone on honeymoon to Kenya, and she was 6 days into a honeymoon when her father died.
Yeah, something like that. If I don't remember exactly, but I know they were on safari.
Yeah, safari in Kenya and something like that. Alex, have you seen the Paddington one before? I can rerun the Paddington one if you want, because I know what I did with the sound and get it wrong.
Cheers, Vicky.
Yeah.
Just a drop of brandy for a Madge.
Okay, so I won't rerun it unless you want me to rerun it, because I didn't have sound before. But yeah, she did that with Daniel Craig, James Bond, who's the current James Bond. I can't believe he's been James Bond 10 years now.
Good God.
Quite a long old time. So I there's lots of things that I remember her for. I remember seeing her in 1977. I was living in Croydon in 1977, and she opened up a bridge, and it was called the Silver Jubilee Bridge. So she opened that up. Going forward, okay. we're now in the reign of King Charles III, which is the Carolinian era, providing he doesn't change his name, which he's entitled to. What will it be like under King Charles III? What do we expect to see? What do you expect, Tracy?
I think he's going to carry on with his ecological stand. You know, he has been very vocal about ecology issues and you know, saving the planet and things like that. I know the Queen was, and she was very much, you know, her and Richard Attenborough, David Attenborough, sorry, the wrong one. You know, she did their programs, and it showed that she had the love of trees and things like this. But Prince Charles has actually been so vocal about it. I think she kept out of it. She wasn't going to be standing there going, "We have to save the trees." But Prince Charles, King Charles, will push that agenda forward. I think. I hope. And I don't know if he's going to be as popular as the Queen, but time will tell. You know, he seems like a nice guy. Seems okay. Sense of humour as well. I did like it when he did his speech at one of the Jubilees, and he stood there and he said, "Your Majesty, the Queen," and everything. And he got to the end, he went, "Mummy," and everyone just like clapped, laughed, roared, because, you know, he took it back down to the personal level. He was giving this speech for the monarch, who was also his mother. So he did have that little wicked hint there. So yeah, time will tell. I think mainly the thing that comes to mind is definitely the ecological issues. I think he will be more vocal on that than his mother was.
Mickey?
Pretty much similar, yeah. I think he'll carry on pushing his green issues as he has for the past, well, however long I can remember. He really is into his ecology. Is it ecology or? Well,
yeah.
Yeah, he really is into that, and saving the planet and things like that. So I think he might be vocal on that. Although he's not going to be able to be as vocal as he has been in the past.
No.
Because being king comes with a lot of responsibility, where he won't be able to be as vocal. He won't just be able to come out and say what he wants when he wants, because I think the royal protocol will stop him doing so.
But who knows? He might, as long as he's not being political. As long as he's not,
exactly, yeah.
As long as he's not saying, well, the Conservatives aren't doing it, so I want Labour to do it. As long as he's keeping it general, I think he may well try pushing forward and saying things like, you know, I hope parliaments across the world, you know, take this on board or something like that. So I think as long as he keeps out the politics of it and just basically says, look, we have to save the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he might be all right. So I guess he may well just, you know, sort of forge forward with that. Doesn't matter if it's not royal protocol, as long as he keeps out of the politics.
I personally would, and I'm speaking as a father here. I would say, look, this is a role I've trained for all my life. My mother has been the longest serving monarch the country's ever known. I'm 74 years old now. My reign isn't going to be anywhere near as long as hers. I think it's time that somebody younger, the monarchy needs a newer, younger face. And I would like to think and hope that he will abdicate in favour of his son William. That's personally what I would like to see. That would be my desire for the future. It doesn't mean I've got anything against Prince Charles. I don't. But he is 74, and if he'd have been 50 when he was ascended to the throne, no problem. But 74. Males traditionally don't last as long as females, although Prince Philip got to 199, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't see maybe 25 years tops out of Charles. And by that time, William will be in his 50s, 60s. So we're going to get a line of very old monarchs. And I'd prefer, it would be fantastic if we had a young monarch. Miss Mouse, look, Mickey has solved your problem. Very generous man, Mickey. I would like to hope that he sees that we a younger, right. I'm trying to get the words out, and I'm doing what Tracy does. I'm wibbling. I think a younger monarchy is more relatable to people than an older monarchy. That's what I was trying to say.
I agree. I'm wondering whether perhaps Charles may well do a couple of years or a few years and then go, hang on a minute, yeah, no, maybe William does need to step in. George will be his eldest, the eldest grandchild will be nearly a teenager, and it'll there'll be a young family on the throne and in the palace and things like that. It would be interesting to see if he does step aside, because then he'll be able to carry on with his political issues. Prince Charles will. He'll be the what would he be, the king's father, like as in we had the Queen's mother. So he would be the king's father, but he'd be able to have his own little way without getting in the way, or without political protocol getting in the way of him.
I don't know what the protocol on is on him abdicating and giving it over to William. I don't know if there is a minimum period.
No, I don't think there is. I think you could literally get it and then abdicate straight away.
Yeah,
I don't.
But surely he has to be invested before he can give it away.
I think so. Yes, I think so.
Because he's not theoretically he's not king until he's had his investiture.
Yeah. Well, no, he's king now. He's king now. He's not head of state until he's invested.
But, head of state. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. He has to have his investiture, doesn't he?
Which
I don't think it'll be till next year.
Was there a coronation for Edward VIII? Because
I wasn't alive then.
I keep harping on about him because I'm
the Queen did.
I know the Queen did, but Edward VIII was king, and he abdicated. But I don't know whether he actually
no.
He wasn't. You've looked it up.
Edward was never crowned. His reign lasted only 325 days. His brother Albert became king using his last name George as George VI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you call him King, Mouse. He is King Charles.
He is King Charles, yes. The moment his mother died, he was King Charles.
Yeah.
Charles can abdicate at any time.
All right.
He can abdicate at any time. From this moment, the moment he became king, he can abdicate. Well, see, what you've got to understand is there's two sides to the entity of king. There's the monarchical side, the monarchical, and there's the political side. The coronation is when the king or queen officially becomes the head of state and the head of I don't think she's the head of the church, she's the defender of the faith. However, they are king from the moment that the person who was their direct relative, from the moment the Queen died, Charles is king, but he's the monarchical king. Rather, there's a special word that I'm looking for and I can't remember what it is. He is the king, but he's not the political king as such until he's crowned, if that makes sense. I am not. It's difficult to explain. I've been thinking about this all day, how I would make this broadcast and how I would answer this question, Miss Mouse. I'll get Tracy's view in a minute, but it's a difficult one to answer because do I feel like a subject? Do I feel like I've been reigned? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't feel either. I don't see a feudal system in the UK as was many years ago. I just see the Queen as our figurehead, somebody we look up to and respect. It's not. I don't feel ruled over, and I don't feel like a subject. But I've just lost a figurehead. That's the only way I can describe it. What about you, Tracy?
Yeah, no, that describes it very well for me. I don't feel ruled over. I don't feel like when people sort of are off on one and like bowing down, you know, subjects and commoners and all this kind of stuff. And no, I respect her because she was the face of the royal family, who has a very long history in our country. And so I respect her for being that face of it. And all the history that comes with it, and all the pomp and all the folklore and everything like that. You know, you look at the Queen, and she is a long line of these. She's part of the imagery, but she is the main image, if that makes sense. So I don't feel ruled over, because she doesn't set the rules for a start. I don't feel reigned over, but I respect her for being. And it's not even that I respect her because she's got loads of money and I have to bow down to her because she's got loads of money. It literally is. It's the long line of history that is just continuing. It's this little thread that goes through all our history, our culture, and to now, and it's carrying on. And yeah, so I'm agreeing with you, Steve, and adding my own bit of flavour as well.
I don't feel like a serf. I mean, it's to other countries, like especially the Americans, it's a very hard concept for them to understand. But I think our relationship with the Queen is the same relationship that you've got with your president. Because technically, your president doesn't. They call him the most powerful man in the world. Because he's the guy that runs America, but actually he doesn't run America, does he? Congress runs America. Yeah. And he's pretty powerless without Congress. And it's the same with the Queen. The Queen rules this country, but she's absolutely powerless without Parliament. She cannot compel me to do anything.
Yeah, she can't make the rules. She can't make the laws.
She can't make the rules. She can't make the laws. She can't compel me to do anything. So the real power in this country is with Parliament, which the real power in America is with Congress. So you've got to think of her like that. Although I'd say that the president does have a little bit more power because he can fire off nukes if he wants to, but technically he doesn't run the country.
Can't imagine the Queen doing that.
Yeah, I can't see King Charles doing that. But that's how we see it. It's certainly not the feudal system it was 500 years ago. I mean, 500 years ago it was a completely different feudal system where the kings and queens of the United Kingdom had absolute power and you could live or die at their whim. But that all started to change during Victoria's. When Victoria came to the throne, she had power. By the time she died, she had no power. And I think that's a very good thing, actually. I think that the fact that Parliament runs the country and not the Queen, I think is a very good thing, because if you have one person that's got the power to make all the decisions, you don't know whether they're going to make the right decisions or the wrong decisions. At least with an electorate and a Parliament, you get the impression that you've got some say in the matter. So, but she is the head of state. We preserve a lot of traditions. I mean, for instance, the last television appearance she made, she was actually formally acknowledging bondage equipment as our latest Prime Minister. And it wouldn't have mattered if the Queen had said no, she still would have been our latest Prime Minister. It's just a formality, but it's a traditional formality.
I really enjoyed that because it's part of it. It's exactly what I was saying. It's all part of the protocols and the fairy tales and the folklores and that. Liz Truss went to see her, and the Queen has to formally ask her to form a government. That might have been for general elections, but basically the Queen has to formally ask her to become the Prime Minister, and things like this, or to open Parliament and things. It's going to happen anyway, but the Queen has to do it because it's protocol. And I like the way that it's all very British, because we're all very polite about it. Oh, would you open Parliament? Yes, I will open Parliament. Thank you very much. It's just all just So I just wish that they did it all in big robes and things still, you know, like the opening of Parliament was until about 10 or 15 years ago. You know, full robes, full headgear, full crown. That's what I would love.
Well, now the bright side. I know there's no bright side to somebody dying. As I say, I do feel that people have lost a mother, grandmother, great grandmother. A family have lost their matriarch. However, what you're going to see in the next 10 days, because we now begin 10 days of official mourning, and then you're going to see the royal funeral. What you're going to see, if you thought that the marriage of Charles and Di, if you thought the marriage of William and Kate was pomp and circumstance, you have not seen anything yet. You are going to see us do pomp and circumstance like you wouldn't believe. It's we're going to do tradition and a royal funeral. That the passing of a monarch is probably the most. I mean, I've seen the film of Edward. I've seen the film of Churchill's funeral, and I've seen the film of Edward VIII's funeral, and we will be doing pomp and circumstance like you wouldn't believe.
I think the nearest in our lifetime that we would have got to it would have been the Queen Mother's funeral.
Yeah,
that was a big old affair. I know Margaret had one, and I know Prince Philip, he had a slightly downscale affair, but it's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Yeah, I've got him.
But I think the closest we've had to it in our lifetime is the Queen Mother's funeral, and I don't really remember that very clearly. No. I know I was an adult for it, but I don't recall it. So this is going to be such a big thing for a lot of people, you know. And obviously that's the other thing as well, is that when things happen with the royal family, it's making history. It's creating future history, you know, that we're going to look back on, and that's going to have been part of the history. It's a historical event. So that's another reason why I like having a figurehead. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, I was just agreeing with you. Hello, Dark Sage. Welcome. She almost became the longest reigning monarch in history. Yes, there's just Louis the something was above her, wasn't it? If she had,
was that the Sun King?
If she had lived to 2024, she would have passed Louis XIV for the title. I'm curious now if you ever see any monarch, no matter where they are, reign for 73 years and surpass him. Unfortunately, we will never know. Most of us will never know.
Is Louis XIV the guy known as the Sun King?
I know times were different back then when he was King of France, but Elizabeth almost got there, which is a testament to her health.
The Sun King. I thought so, the Sun King.
Yeah. That was the other thing about her. She was from what we saw, she was a rather clean living royal. You know, her sister was the one that partied, drank a lot, smoked a lot. Her mother liked was it Babysham, I think. But she lived to a ripe old age. You know, and just some people are blessed with the DNA that you know, doesn't fail until sort of the last minute. And I think she was just, from what you hear about her diet, the Queen's diet, she sort of stuck to sort of fairly small meals which weren't very carb heavy, so just generally she seemed very clean living. There wasn't a time that you could go, oh God, our Queen is just, she's shown herself up again.
I don't think she smoked, did she?
No, I don't think she did. Her sister did.
I know, her sister smoked and had a fair, didn't she?
Like a chimney.
Sorry, Nicky?
Margaret smoked like a chimney.
Unfortunately, we now have a new king, God save the king. That's going to be so hard to say, God save the king. I just think, you know, things like His Majesty, God save the king, and singing our national anthem are going to be so difficult for the three of us. Because the three of us.
You know what, Steve? I wish they.
Sorry, Mickey?
I wish they'd change that. I wish they'd change our national anthem. It's such a dirge.
Oh, yes.
For something more upbeat. And that was the ample opportunity for them to do so.
I'd like Jerusalem to be but not called Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not calling it Jerusalem, but calling it something else. National anthem.
I agree with Billy Connolly in a very, very old TV appearance of his. He said that the national anthem is like you said, it's dirge.
Yeah.
We should have the Archers theme tune. Can you imagine, like the Queen, as she was then, the Queen on her horse on Trooping the Colour, just like really sort of happy and upbeat. And yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, you were saying about it's going to be weird doing the God Save the King and stuff like this. When I was watching BBC News, and it had just been announced, and Hugh Edwards was saying, and it is understood that the King and the Queen consort is still at Balmoral. And my ears just went like, what? Oh. King? I can't know. That's so weird. So I've sat there in like shock that she'd actually died, and then also I'm hearing the King and Queen. Of course, it's not Prince Charles and Camilla anymore, is it? It's the King and Queen consort. Sorry, were you going to say something, Mickey?
Yeah, I was. And you'll have to forgive me for saying so.
No.
I'm just looking at pictures of crowds and crowds outside Buckingham Palace. Why are they there when she's in Scotland?
It's a focal point. There's crowds of people gathering outside Holborn House in the
I don't get it.
There's crowds of people
I just don't...
gathering outside Osborne House in the Isle of Wight, Mickey.
Yeah.
It's a royal focal. It's a focal point. And to answer your question, the Prime Minister was informed at 4:30 this afternoon, so it's a fair bet she died about 4 o'clock. If she'd have died overnight, the Prime Minister would have been informed overnight. So I think it's a fair bet that she died at 4 o'clock.
I mean, they released that stuff. See, I don't think she died overnight, but I think that she was. I think she probably had gone when we got the statement, and that's why everyone was rushing up there really sort of quickly, because there's protocol that you have to do, that certain things that have to be done regarding her children being there. I've got a feeling that because otherwise, if they had announced that she died earlier on in the day, it would have been a shock to the country. The country would have been like, what? But they drip fed us various bits and pieces, like even suggesting that perhaps she'd had a stroke. Oh, something catastrophic must have happened. It's overnight or since Tuesday or whatever. And so I think that perhaps she had died then, and the statement that came out about 12:30 was the press's chance to get us all kind of like going, oh my God, something's going to happen. Because over time they were putting on their black ties, they were getting their black clothes on. The mood became more and more and more somber, and the children, her kids, had to get to Balmoral from wherever they were. So so nobody could be told, including the Prime Minister, until the children were there or nearly there, if that makes sense. But either way, I don't think it was overnight, but it was definitely sometime today.
I think in the fullness of time, within the next 10 days, we'll know the answer to that anyway.
Yeah. So, also what she actually died of as well.
I believe he had bone cancer.
Really?
Mm.
It has been stated that, although it's kept quiet, the rumour was that she had cancer, but that was never officially.
Unofficially, I think you'll find unofficially it was bone cancer, but we won't know for a few days yet.
Yeah, I'd never heard that. I actually thought that, okay, Prince Philip dying knocked her for 6. Which it would, obviously, such a long marriage, and he was always her support. And then she lost a couple of close friends, like Lady-in-Waitings. And then she had COVID. And COVID is nasty enough in someone who's fit and healthy. And it was after she had COVID that she started looking extremely frail. And so I wondered whether it was a knock-on effect from the COVID. Like, she was already knocked down from losing her husband and things, and then she got COVID, and she never fully recovered.
I've just had a news flash come in. The Queen, because this is an on-developing story still. The Queen is going to be buried in the Queen is going to be buried in the what's the name of that chapel? In the King George VI Memorial Chapel at Windsor Castle, with her parents, King George VII and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Not only is she going to be buried with her parents, but Prince Philip is going to be moved to join them.
Oh my God! See, that's what I was a bit confused about. As in,
and a funeral is going to be in 10 days' time.
Yes. I believe it's going to be a public holiday as well, isn't it?
No, it's not. They're saying there won't be a bank holiday for the Queen's funeral.
That's bizarre. But what date is 10? Is there a date yet, or is that still not?
Well, 10 days' time will be the 18th, Tracy.
Yeah, I know, but are they classing today as one day? 18th is a Sunday. So
all I'm reading is it's going to 10 days' time. So
18th,
whether it's 10 days from tomorrow, it'll be either Thursday or Friday, a fortnight, won't it?
18th is a Sunday.
It won't be a Sunday, will it?
No, that's what I was like.
Well, it may be.
Yeah.
That way they haven't got to give a bank holiday.
No.
But whatever they're saying it's not going to be. Hang on, I'm just reading now. Day of the state funeral would mark a national day of mourning, which would effectively be a bank holiday, but without the title.
Oh,
exactly, yeah.
Citing official documents, the outlet explained how if the funeral was to fall on a weekday, the government did not plan to order employers to give employees the day off. Saying that was a matter between employers and their staff.
I also agree with you, Dark
As the funeral will be held in 10 days after the Queen's death, it is expected that the Queen Elizabeth will be laid to rest on the 18th of September, which is Sunday. This means that not only will the day itself not be a bank holiday, an extra bank holiday also won't be granted at another date.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm reading that direct from the news.
Yeah.
BBC News.
No, it's not BBC News.
I'm just going to take issue with what Dark Sage says, and I disagree with you, Dark Sage. Our greatest monarch was Elizabeth I. Oh, I'm sorry. Carry on, Tracy.
I should imagine that King Charles's coronation will be a bank holiday.
I'm not sure. I don't remember the Queen's coronation because I wasn't born at the time.
No,
so
the only reason I'm presuming this is because we've had bank holidays for the weddings, the main weddings and things, and I'm going to presume.
Are you sure we had bank holidays and not public holidays?
Oh, maybe. Sorry, same thing.
That's what Mickey. That's what you're talking about, isn't it, Mickey? It's a public holiday, not a bank holiday.
A public holiday is then between the employer and the employees, whether they'll let them have it off.
Okay, right.
Bank holiday is a statutory holiday. That's the difference between a public holiday and a bank holiday. What they're saying is it will not be a bank holiday, but it will be a public holiday, which is then down to the employer and the employees to work out whether they're going to open, close, go to work or not.
I think it'll be very, very poor employer that doesn't let people have time off.
But as it falls on a Sunday, as they're stating at the minute, the funeral's going to be on a Sunday. It won't matter for the majority of people.
Yeah.
I think they should shut all the supermarkets.
I think all shops should shut. I agree, as a mark of respect. I think they did. I think they did for Edward VII's funeral. Again, it was before my time, so I can't. I can't remember. I'm just looking at the pictures coming from Buckingham Palace. There are thousands of people there now, Nikki.
Yeah, they reckon.
I was looking at it
earlier.
And have you seen the pictures of the black cabs all the way down the Mall?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
They've actually filled the Mall with black cabs.
Oh, that's nice. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
On the downside, right? On the downside, Facebook is awash now with people complaining that they're not getting their soaps, and I think they're very poor people. And I just defriended 2 people that have complained about that.
Oh, it's just.
I know it's.
Yeah, I mean now my wife, she'll watch all the soaps, but she understands tonight that she isn't going to watch. She got to bed now.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
but she understands why they're not on.
Yeah.
And she's not one that's going to sit there and bitch about it.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sake, who want to know what the Slaters are doing in fucking Albert Square when the longest serving monarch's died, for Christ's sake?
Yeah. Good evening, Waniac. I've also
Good evening, Wayne.
I've also made a faux pas, right? My background should have been purple.
Yes.
Oh.
When a monarch dies, it's not black, it's purple.
Purple.
Tell BBC and Sky News that then, because it was all black earlier.
Check the Sun.
Ah.
Check the Sun and other papers.
Check the Sun.
Check the Sun and other papers.
You having a laugh?
You having a laugh?
Well, all right, okay. All right, okay.
I've got no time for the Sun after.
Yeah. Thank you, Waniac. Thank you, Waniac. We as a nation, we're still in shock, I think.
Yeah.
The full reality hasn't actually hit us yet that we've lost a much loved person. I actually.
Which would.
I was about to say, before I did this stream, and I warned Tracy that I might do this, I actually thought it might bring a tear to my eye, but I've managed to control myself so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, at the beginning, when we started, I was a bit, close. Yeah. But, yeah. I didn't think I'd feel like, I mean, because, to be fair, her age, you've got to have been expecting it sometime in the near future, not necessarily now. But I think whenever it came, it was going to be a shock. If it was now or in 4 years' time, because like we said earlier, she is all we've ever known as our monarch.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we've never ever had this before in our lives. So
all official flags in this country, Waniac, will be at half-mast. They're not talking about it. They will be at half-mast. All the official flags in this country. The official flags on official government buildings will all be at half-mast. The other problem, of course, is we're also it's the timing it's also a period of uncertainty. We've just changed prime ministers, and now we've lost our queen within 2 days. It's a lot of uncertainty for people. And I'm good that the US is showing a mark of respect. I'm glad of that. That's very nice if they do that. But it's also very much a period of uncertainty for the country, and I'm hoping that tomorrow King Charles will make a speech that will be profound. Probably the best speech he's ever made.
I think that's part of the protocol, isn't it, that he makes a speech
I think he has
tomorrow.
to. So.
Yeah.
The Carolinian area, we're calling it the Carolinian area because that's what the reign of King Charles III will be called. It's a Carolinian reign, from the Latin. But we don't know. He may change his name. What do we think will change the most? Well, I've only ever known Her Majesty, so actually saying His Majesty will be a problem. Every time I sing the royal anthem, the national anthem, I'm going to sing the words "God Save the Queen" because that's all I've ever known. And I'm going to have to catch myself to "God Save the King." It's a very strange one because I've only ever known a female monarch, so all of my monarch vocabulary is feminine. That's what I think the biggest change will be the most for me. Tracy?
Yes, it's definitely the vocabulary that I'm going to struggle with. It's and what else would be, and not seeing her. I know obviously at the moment we're going to see her face everywhere, but just not seeing her face everywhere. And I mean, I've already had sort of people saying, "Oh, I don't want the coins to change." It's like, oh.
I was just about to say that. Do realise that now we'll have his head on our. I mean, I don't know how that works. with all the banknotes and that,
Well,
will they change them as they go out of circulation?
Yeah, that will be as it comes back into the Bank of England. The new ones will be released. So, so for a while we'll have, for quite a while.
It's the same with all the coins and that.
Yeah, for quite a while we'll have, and stamps too. Everything will be circulating at the same time, and slowly it'll become less and less Queen and more King Charles.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. What happens to our currency?
Yeah.
Google what happens to our currency.
I'm pretty sure that it could, because the people were like, or some people were like, oh yeah, what about all the coins? We won't be able to spend them. You will be able to spend them. It just means that some will slowly trickle in, while others slowly trickle back. And other people will obviously be keeping some coins for historical purposes, and collections. All good.
Well, I do have a George V penny here somewhere.
I had
an old
Victorian
penny.
ones at some point.
Yeah.
So,
but it's worth about £3, I think.
Oh, another step towards your
what?
My
new Mercedes or my yacht.
Following the ascension of the throne, which he hasn't ascended to the throne yet, that comes with us. So that's actually wrong. He hasn't ascended to the throne yet until he's crowned king. But I know what they mean. There will be a. This is the Royal Mint. I'm actually reading this on the Royal Mint website. There is now a major change to our currency. The face of King Charles III will be printed and minted on all future coins and notes from now.
There you go.
All right, and old notes with the Queen's face will slowly be removed from circulation as they become damaged. But that's going to take a lot longer than it would do, because we've got the plastic notes now.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got the plastic notes now, but there will be a slow, phased withdrawal. That as notes and coins withdrawn from circulation, they will be replaced with the ones of King Charles on them. So I believe this. It also will happen in other countries as well. Which
yes, our notes are actually plastic.
Yes, our notes are plastic.
They're made of plastic, way. Yeah.
I'm not sure when Charles is crowned.
No, notes.
Go on, carry on, Mickey.
I missed what you said, Mickey.
Sorry?
Oh, not sure when he's going to be crowned. It's all right, I just worked out what you said.
That is a plastic note.
Yeah.
Like plastic.
That. Yeah, it's plastic.
I think, is it made from polymer?
Oh, yeah, polymer.
Yes,
polymer is a long chain plastic, but yeah.
That. Yeah.
I think I've got one as well. This is a different one. That's made of plastic. They're made of plastic, you can't crumple them like paper. So see-through as well, look. See through them, look. They're made of polymer. And these notes will actually last up to 50 years apparently, so but yeah, you can see through them, look.
Yeah.
You can actually see through, I think. But yeah. You're getting, I did read the other day that you're getting polymer notes as well in the United States. They're coming out this year, I think. Is it this year or early next year? You're getting polymer notes in the United States. But we've had polymer notes now for nearly 10 years now.
But if the banks and have their own way, nobody will have any notes. It'll all be plastic.
Can you just excuse me for a minute? I just need the little girls' room.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know exactly when Charles will be crowned, because there is no set set protocol. It's got to go through. You've got to have a decent period of mourning for the monarch. I mean, the Queen was crowned almost a year after her father died.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, I don't think we'll see it till sometime in the new year. When in the new year, I don't know, but
yeah, I can imagine that we'll probably still be talking about the Queen and the and King Charles and that, but tonight was the announcement, the condolences, the chance for us to kind of like regroup and talk about it and everything. We can talk about it all again tomorrow and Saturday, but there will be punctuations of hilarity when we go completely off subject and talk about random things that make us laugh. So it won't be quite as reverent as tomorrow as tonight.
I'm going to miss my Queen.